rejects evolution. I think the implication is because they reject it because they don't understand it. I think quite the opposite is true. I think they do understand it and reject it. How many of you think you do understand what the evolution is trying to teach and you still reject it? Now, the choice is for the evolutionist to look at these hands and say, well, you people are stupid. Or to look at it and say, maybe there's a reason they're not getting it. And the evolutionist typically thinks, if I had, 75 hours to show you all this stuff, I could make you believe in it. Well, that is, again, implying you're dumb, I'm smart. You just don't know everything I know, or else you'd believe like I believe. I think the opposite is true. I think there are thousands of scientists who have studied this very carefully and thoroughly rejected the concept. It doesn't work. It doesn't happen. So I would certainly agree that over half the population doesn't believe in it, but I disagree that that means they're dumb. Actually, I think it means they're smart enough to realize that they didn't get brainwashed with all this teaching. He said evolution is the central unifying principle of biology. This has been the mantra for the last 20 years. The evolutionists keep saying, oh, you have to teach evolution. This is the central unifying theme. Well, just because they say that doesn't mean it is. I could say creation is the central unifying theme of the world. And they would say, I disagree. Okay, well, just saying something doesn't make it true. And you hear this over and over, and I see this in the court cases as I read about what happened in textbooks. They say evolution is the central theme. Evolution has nothing to do with biology. You could learn all the muscles, all the bones, all the nerves, all the fibers of the body, and never study evolution. You can teach the kids, okay kids, flexors, extenders, biceps, triceps, deltoid, rectus femoris, and all these muscles of the body. You don't have to learn about. If the kid says, well, how'd they get there? Well, we don't know. We're learning the anatomy. Here's how it works. Evolution is unnecessary. It's a useless theory, and I think it's counterproductive. I think it's a waste of classroom time. And I think it shows up on the test scores. Now, as American kids test lower and lower and lower in their general knowledge of science because they waste so much time teaching that dumb theory. That's my totally unbiased opinion. Okay? He said tonight that evolution glorifies God. Okay? I will stand by my guns. It is not the God of the Bible. I debated Hugh Ross for 3 hours on the John Ankerberg show, and he was saying how that, God needed millions of years to make this happen, and how the Neanderthals were, soulless humans and all this stuff. I said, I am very concerned that when you and I say the word God, we're talking about two different things. I think you have a different God than I do. Okay? I think Osama bin Laden believes in God, but he has a different God than I do. Okay? Very different God than I do. So I don't think God used evolution. There's no evidence for it anyway. Why blame that on him? Okay? He says atoms are self-assembled by a process we don't understand. Well, again, you're welcome to believe that, but that's, again, not science. I think the fact that atoms can self-assemble is evidence of design. The idea that in the beginning, God created the heaven and earth and God plus dirt equals humans, that's not a problem for me to believe. But time plus dirt equals humans is a real problem for me to believe. This computer right here is nothing but natural components. There's nothing supernatural about a computer. There's not a little man running around in there changing the numbers on the screen, okay? It can be understood by purely natural processes. However, it didn't assemble itself. It can't assemble itself. You couldn't even get a nut and a bolt to evolve by chance that would fit together, let alone a 747. You couldn't get one nut on one bolt by blind chance. So if they want to believe all this happened, that's fine. But the atoms self-assemble because they're designed to do that. Okay? And as far as the assembly process, that's something I'd love to hear an evolution explain. How did we get from asexual reproduction to sexual reproduction? Which evolved first, the male or the female? So you got a real problem here. For as soon as you start going from asexual to sexual reproduction, you got to find two of the opposite sex in the same place at the same time. It's a big world, they're talking billions of years. They got to find each other and be interested. Now you really got a problem, okay? So, lastly, not almost lastly here, 3 minutes, you say? Okay. He said, I mentioned that, okay, lobe-fin fish, he gave the picture of how it changed, and you can do a computer animation, and National Geographic does this all the time on TV. They show the computer animations of them changing, morphing from one to another. That's not science. That's imagination. I don't know how they don't see that, but that's all it is imagination. He said the only difference between you and a fish is the arrangement of molecules. Folks, there's a tremendous difference between you and a fish. Animals have a consciousness of themselves. They're alive. Humans have a consciousness of God. Vast difference between man and animals. The Bible talks clearly about that. I think that's obvious from common experience. So I see no evidence for evolution. I think the theory is useless. I think it's only supported by things that are proven wrong, and I resent paying for it in the textbooks. Thank you.
Dr. Rainbow, you have, we'll give you 10, even though you used part of it.
What I would like to do, what I was asked to do, is to talk about evidence for evolution. And I would like to show you the most powerful example that I'm aware of in organismal evolution, the story of how birds evolved from what are called theropod dinosaurs. Now, let's see, let me forward up here to, okay, birds. Birds are exceedingly specialized with a vast array of very high-tech adaptations for flight. They've always been the quintessential example used by creationists of organisms that are far too complex and wonderful to have ever evolved spontaneously. They have weight-saving toothless beaks, astonishingly light hollow bones, stump-like tailbones, collarbones that act like flexing springs during flight, deep-keeled breastbones to anchor the powerful flight muscles, and special feet with reversed toes that allow them to perch. Most amazing of all, their arms and hands are highly modified to create wings, which act as perfect airfoils. Through the agency of feathers, special integumentary structures, which have historically been perhaps the single most difficult to explain structure in all of organismal biology. So feathers, I think I'll defer talking about them for the moment. This is the theory that you've all heard about, that birds evolved from dinosaurs. There you see a dinosaur that's called Bambiraptor, and as you can see, it has feathers on it, but the feathers were not used to fly. The feathers were believed to have kept it warm, probably, since down feathers are the most insulating substance known to man. This picture shows some of the transitional forms from a National Geographic article. Sinosauropteryx in the back here. Caudipteryx, some of the dromaeosaurs like Velociraptor, and then on to birds such as Archaeopteryx. Archaeopteryx was a bird, there's no question about it, everybody agrees with that. And then on to modern birds. Now, this is a pretty picture. Anybody can paint pretty pictures. But what's the actual evidence for this? Well, I've tried to assemble a sequence. Okay, we think that juvenile T-Rexes may have actually had feathers, for example, to keep them warm. Here are some actual fossils, and I think what I'll do is just show this sequence. I don't know if you're trying to film this or not, but if you are, it would be a good time to turn the lights out and catch this, because it's the star of the show now. So here is a